Before I start, I just want my husband to pray for me, as I am just so excited about having my husband and my two sons here with me. I have missed them, and this man standing here is a testimony all of its own, because for very long he ran away. I was running to the Father and he was running away from the Father. But praise of the Father, you know what? Don't ever give up praying, because at the appointed time the Father will reel them in, because He will bring them. Kicking or screaming, He will bring them in. My husband, even there was a time when I was like seriously praying for this man, and then my husband still turned around and he said to me, you know, babes, if I were to do everything that you wanted, it would be too easy for you. So like this, I keep you on your knees. Can you imagine, ladies, if your husband said that to you, you'd want to kill them on the spot. And I would cringe and say, Abba, my Father, pray a little bit more. And you know what the Father said to me? I'm changing you, my child, not him. I'm changing you. When you change, he'll change. So guess who had the biggest changing to do? Me, not him. So I would just like him to pray.
Abba, I just want to come before this evening, and I just want to thank you and praise you and glorify your name up high. And I just want to thank you for allowing everybody that is supposed to be here, that is here. You've made a way for them to get here. And I thank you for that you'll open their eyes and open their ears. And I pray for my wife, that the Ruach will come upon her and she'll do the things that the Ruach and Abba wants her to do. It's not about her, it's about Him. We're here for Him this weekend. And I thank you that you will bless her, and that you'll have your hand of protection upon her, because no weapon formed against us shall prosper in your name. Amen. Because you've given us the authority to stand on scorpions and snakes. So whatever it is that is trying to come in, we rebuke you, because you are not allowed, you're not part of this party. And I thank you for that, Abba, that you will, at the end of the weekend, you will have a lot of testimonies. Amen. Not only one, and it's not about us. It's about you getting all the glory. So I just want to come before you, and I just want to pray that you'll bless every single person from the top of their head to the bottom of their toes. That you'll be with them, open their eyes and open their ears once again. And Abba, you do what you need to do. We might leave here not feeling the way we want to, but it's not about us, it's about you. You could be doing the changes. And it's changes that we don't want to happen to us. So I just want to thank you once again for allowing us to be here. And once again, Abba, we praise and we worship you. I just want to thank you and praise you for this in your name. Amen.
Amen. We are all being stretched, and I think I'm the one who's being the most stretched up here today. Because you know what, I like to sit in my little quiet place in my room with my little tape recorder and do all the messages and then just press a button and send it out. But you know what? No, I don't send it out. Elsie puts it all together. Let me just say who puts it all together. I just speak. She does the rest. But what I'm saying is, I like the quiet of my room, that I don't have to stand in front of people, because I don't do that very well. So we are being stretched, seriously stretched here today. And as you heard, songs that was written 15 years ago coming forth. Poems that I've written 10 years ago coming forth. Things that the Father has spoken to me 10 years ago now coming together, because now is the time. There's never been a time like now. Now is the time. When Father said to me how many years ago, you know, I just get excited when I can see worshippers arise, because at the end of the day, this is what it's going to be all about. The call to the wilderness is a call to be able to come to the Father's feet. And in the wilderness, He wanted to raise up a people that would worship and praise Him. So I tell you, by the end of this weekend, You will be worshipping, whether you take a flag or whether you just move a toe or whether you just move a leg. But I want to see that body move for the King. Because you know what? He is going to restore the tabernacle, the fallen tabernacle of David. And that is what this whole call to the wilderness is about. You know, when I started to put all this together, it's just amazing, because I'm sure a lot of you, we've all been given prophetic word, we've all been given things, Father's been speaking. Imagine 15 years he's been giving you songs, you don't even understand why he's giving you all of this, but you just write it down, you write in journals, you write things, half the things don't even make sense, but you write it down. But there comes a day when that which he has spoken shall surely come to pass. That which he has spoken, he said, write the vision down. In Habakkuk chapter 2, he says, write the vision down, for at the appointed time it shall surely come to pass. Even though it tarry, and it's been tarrying for many years, Father has spoken things to you sitting over here, that there's things that he's spoken to you, and it seems like so far away, and you think, how, my Father, is this ever going to be possible? Just like me. How, when he told me 12 years ago, and he brought me to Israel, and I stood upon Mount Carmel, and for the first time, I'm hearing the Creator of the universe saying to me, your ancestors left this land, and today I bring you back. This is the land of inheritance. This is where you belong. 12 years ago, he told me that on my very first trip to Israel in 2006. I didn't know anything about me being Jewish. I didn't know that I had any Jewish heritage. I didn't even know that there was any such thing in my bloodline. All I know is that I got off the bus and I had a bunch of women saying to me, are you Jewish? I said, no, I'm Portuguese. Oh, you're the Sephardic Jews. I didn't know what the heck they were talking about, because I'd never heard of Sephardic Jews in my life. And then about the fourth one telling me this, I was highly irritated. Imagine when someone's telling you something that you know that you're not. They're telling you you're Jewish and you know that you're not. You weren't brought up a Jew. You didn't do anything Jewish. So why would you be a Jew? And I didn't understand. But let me tell you something. I stood on top of the mountain. And this was our very first stop. It was on top of Mount Carmel. Imagine. The very place where Elijah calls down fire from heaven. The very place where Elijah confronted the prophets of Baal. And boy, you're going to hear about Elijah this weekend. If there's something you're going to know about the spirit of Elijah. Because it's the spirit of Elijah that's going to come in these last days. It's the spirit of Elijah that's going to have to come upon his remnant of people to be able to do great and mighty things. Imagine what Joshua spoke when he said, greater works will you do than I did, because I go to the Father. Do we see it? I'm saying to him, where are these works, Abba? Where are they? They seem to be non-existent. But you know why? Because too many have already gone and they're stealing the glory for themselves. And it's, you know what? This one goes and does a little bit healing. We start a healing ministry. This one goes and does a little thing. We start a deliverance ministry. This one does this little thing. We start this ministry. Father's not interested in all these little ministries running around. Father's interested in the remnant of people that are going to raise up and do the work that he's got for them to do. And guess what? It's the nameless, faceless bride remnant that he's about to raise up. Who the heck are we? Nobody. Who am I? Nobody. I'm just the person that he called to be able to go to Israel. I'm just a voice in the wilderness having to sit and speak. And each one of us, I tell you now, if there's one thing that I know, is if you're sitting in this room and you are here this weekend, it's because you are part of a remnant that the Father is raising up. And I'm here to be able to, by His grace, that He grant me the grace to be able to relay those things that He has been showing me, not only for the last 2.5 months in my set apartness, but that He's actually been speaking for the last 10 years that I did not understand. But you know, when the pieces of the puzzle get put together, there's a little piece here. Have you ever built a puzzle? I mean, we used to do 1,500 piece puzzle. When this piece comes, and then you've got a whole piece that's not there, but all of a sudden, when those pieces all start coming together, you start to see the bigger picture. And that is how it has been. And so, like I said, I stood on top of this Mount Carmel after this woman speaking to me saying, you're Jewish, not understanding. And all of a sudden, Father speaks to me from heaven and said, your ancestors left this land, and today I bring you back. This is the land of your inheritance. This is where you belong. Now, that blew me away, because I thought, how is this even possible? I don't understand, Father. How can I be part of a people that I know nothing about? But you see, this was going to take me on a journey. And the journey was going to be that I was going to have to find my inheritance that I had lost. You know, we are sojourners, and many of us have been in the dispersion. And this is what you're going to understand this weekend, who you are. Because if you don't understand who you are, then how do you know where you're going? If you don't understand where your destination is, then how do you know what you're supposed to do? So the thing is that the Father had started to show me in my very first 40-day fast that I did in 2008. He spoke to me about the greatest love story. And so this is what it's about. Uncovering a people that He has set apart. That is a generation yet to be created that will praise Him. And this is the generation, because this is the hour. There has been no hour. There's no hour like this hour. If you do not know that we are in the end times, I'm going to tell you today, you are in the end times. You are about to see things happen on this earth that we've never seen before. And so, when the Father started taking me to Israel, and He started to slowly show me about my heritage, about where I belonged. You know, my very first trip in 2006, I knew nothing. I didn't understand about a Shabbat. I didn't understand about feasts. They were calling Him by this name, Yeshua. I didn't understand that. And I was about to be opened up to a whole new world. I was a reborn Christian for 6 years at the time. I'd already been reborn Christian, but I didn't know anything about a heritage that was mine that I had lost. And then Elsie started to research my bloodline, and she started to find out about my heritage, where I come from. And then I found out that my surname, De Silva, when she researched it, comes back to Cohen. So I actually have bloodline that comes back to Cohen. And just recently I found out, because last year I went to research my husband's bloodline. Now, I want you to know, when the Father brings two people together, truly He has a plan. I met this man when I was 14, turning 15. I was a very young girl. I was making adult decisions at a girl's age. But when I met my husband, I started going out with my husband at the age of 14, turning 15. You know, being a good little Portuguese girl, we were not allowed to date and go out alone at night. It was just like it would have been with the Jewish people, very protective over their daughters. Their daughters would have to be very set apart. And so I started going out with him, but very chaperoned. And then we went out for 5.5 years and married when I was 20. So my husband and I have been married, it's going to be 29 years this year, and we were been together for 34 years that we've known each other. So it's a lifetime. But let me tell you, it's been a very rocky road. And many times I thought, I'm packing my bag and I'm leaving. And only now do I really understand the call that the Father had. Because when I researched his bloodline last year, when we went to Portugal, my father, on my father's side, is De Silva. De Silva comes from Cohen. So Elsie traced it back 5,000 years. My husband's mother is Cunha. Cunha is Cohen. So he comes from a Levitical tribe. I come from a Levitical tribe. Then, just this year, I found out through all the research, because now I understand, I'm living in Israel, but guess what? Imagine living in a land that you've been promised for 12 years, and then you go there, and you're not welcome. Because they say, you're not a Jew, unless you can prove it by your documentation. So I'm being able to live in the land, but every 3 months I've got to leave, so I'm there on a tourist visa, because even though the Father has told me who I am, and even though I know that I have Jewish blood, and even though that I know that this is my land, and He told me that, but the system doesn't want me. I'm up against giants in that land. And that is what you need to understand. You come into your promised land, but let me tell you something. There are giants that you're going to face, and they are real. Believe you me, they are real. And they will want to take you out. And so when I started to, last year, I found out that Perry, now one of my surnames is Perny, and Perny comes from Peri, and Peri goes back to Perez. So I actually come from Perez, which is the bloodline of David. Then my husband, his surname on his mother's side, that's my father's side. So my father and my mother. My father is Perez on his father's side, on his mother's side, and Cohen on his father's side. My husband is Perish, which is Perez on his mother's side, and that's on his mother's mother, and his mother's father was Quina. So look at how the Father did this. We are from the same tribe, building in the land where we live. At the moment, we live in the border. We live in Arad. Arad is the desert on the border of the Negev desert and the Judean desert. The Judean desert that was given to David and the Levites. It was the southern kingdom that had them. The southern part of Israel was given to the southern tribes, which would have been Judah and Benjamin. And then the rest of Israel was basically given to the other 10 tribes. So it's amazing how the Father has a plan. And that's what I need you to understand. That when you look at your life and you get prophetic word, you don't always understand, because the Father is working on a bigger plan than you understand. And so when I started going to Israel and thought, I need to live there. There was only one place I was going to go, and that was Jerusalem. I didn't want to go to the wilderness. I didn't want to go to no desert. I wanted to go to Jerusalem. I love Jerusalem. You know, to me, Jerusalem is the city of the King. I wouldn't want to be living anywhere else. But in 2016, the Father took us into this place called Arad, and there was a friend of mine that said, time is short, we need to go south. And then we started going south, and the very first place we came to was Arad. And I arrived there and I thought, well, this is beautiful. Now I want to tell you something. I do love the desert. I love the desert. Look, driving over here, it was so beautiful to see the bush. You've seen a bush in Israel. You aren't going to see bush in Israel. Israel is more desert land. So driving here today was beautiful. It's beautiful for the eyes. The eyes can behold a beauty of Yahuwah that is just different. But the desert has nothing. But let me tell you something. The desert is beautiful. Ask Audrey, she will agree with me. I don't know about my husband agreeing with me, because he didn't want to live in the desert. He wants to live by the sea. Elsie is another story as well. She would love to live in Galilee. And so most people, when they come to Israel, they always fall in love with the north. See, the north is attractive to the eye. The north is beautiful. But let me tell you something. The north is exactly where the lost tribes went, because they didn't want the south. They didn't stay in the south. But the south is the desert. And let me tell you something. It's beautiful beyond description. The desert grows on you. Every single time I drive through the desert and I look at those mountains, I say, oh, Father, you are so beautiful. Beauty beyond description. And then I have to say to myself, but what, Natalia, makes it so beautiful? There's nothing to see. There's no shrub, there's no bush, there's no nothing. Yes, when it's winter now, it goes a little bit green. But other than that, it's just rocks. So how can rocks be attractive? How can the desert be attractive? Why would the Father call us into the desert? Why? Why would He call His people into the wilderness? Why did He take them out of the land of Mitzrayim, Egypt, and bring them into a wilderness? Why didn't He take them out of the land of Mitzrayim and take them immediately north to this greenery and beauty? No, He didn't do that. He took them into the wilderness, and guess what? He was going to deal with them in this wilderness, because they needed to be able to know that they need to seek Him. Because you know what? When you go outside of here, I'm sure just now when you go outside and you're going to go sleep, you're going to hear the noises in the bush. The bush is an amazing place. I love camping. And the bush, you hear the crickets. You hear the little sounds of the night that you can hear because it's the bush. Guess what? In the desert, you hear yourself breathe because there's no sound, nothing. It's quiet. It's so quiet that it's almost deafening. But that quiet is what He needs in our life. Because if we do not come to that still, quiet place, we will never get to see Him. We will never get to know Him. So, this weekend, everything of what the Father wants to be able to speak, of what He wants you to know, is why does He want you to come back to the wilderness? What has happened to us that we are so far from where we should be? You know what? Even though we came out of Mitzrayim, is Mitzrayim still in you? Has Mitzrayim still got a hold over you? Do the things of this world still? Are they still in your heart? Are they still more important to you than Him? Because when He brings you into the wilderness, He brought the Israelites into the wilderness for what reason? To get Egypt out of there. And they wandered for 40 years, and still they didn't want to change. Now may that not be said of this generation, that He brings us into a wilderness and yet we will continue to rebel against Him. So, do you have that? Okay. So, I want to be able to share with you something that the Father started to reveal to us in terms of the Hebrew lessons that we're doing, because I'm being stretched through a bush backwards. Really. Now you are in a strange land with strange people. Look, I'll tell you now. My first 6 months in the land of Israel, I was ready to run away. I was never so happy to be able to be going back to South Africa like I was last year, October, when I was coming back and I'd already done my 3 months. I was there for 3 months, came back, buried my father. That was a hectic time that I was here. And then I went back and then was there for another 3 months. And then we had to move apartment and everything, and my body was being stretched. And I was going through depression because everything in me was screaming. Because everything in me was being stretched beyond my capacity. I mean, understand something. You got a car. You get into a car, you go to the mall, you got a little trolley, you put your shopping in the trolley, you come to your car, you put your shopping in the car. Wonderful! Guess what? No car. So you're going to go shopping? There's no car. So you're going to have to get on a bus. If you're going to, because we got a very small little town, so if you really want to do bigger shopping, you're going to have to go to Beersheba, 45 minutes away on a bus, and then do your shopping there. Then you got a little trolley, small little trolley that you got to pile all your things in. And then we stayed in an apartment that was on the 4th floor. No lift. And I got to climb up 4 flights of stairs, climb down 4 flights of stairs, and this is stretching your body. Then you've got to walk wherever you've got to go. And now you've got to go to the mall. There's no car that you can say, okay, look, let's just take all this shopping. No, you've got to take 2 trolleys now, park your trolley there, do your shopping, and then go fetch your trolley, and then pack everything, and then walk home. Then still look forward to climbing 4 flights of stairs. We are being stretched. You're in a strange land where people speak to you this language, and you say, excuse me, do you speak English? No. English? No, English. Hebrew. And I'm thinking, oh, my goodness, now I must be speaking Hebrew. Because they look at me and they say, but you are Jewish, you need to speak Hebrew. You're in a Jewish land, you need to speak Hebrew. And I thought, oh, Father, grant me the grace. And then I'm surrounded by Russian people. So if it wasn't Hebrew, then it's Russian. Now I know neither one of the languages. Russian or Hebrew, that's it. So we were being stretched. And I got to the place where eventually I was truly going into a place of depression. And I started feeling sorry for myself. And maybe like many of you, I said to the Father, is this really what you called me for? Is this really the promise? Hello. Just like the Israelites, I was like, is this the promised land? You're bringing me to this land. Is this the promised land? Is this what you promised me? They don't want me. Everybody's telling me, you need to get papers. You need to get papers. If you don't get papers, you cannot stay here. Then I'm going to this rabbi says to me, don't even say you're Jewish because you've got no papers to prove it. Then I'm going to this thing, another rabbi, and the rabbi says, oh no, you don't go back to South Africa and stay in the synagogue for a year before you can actually be called a Jew and then you can come get papers. I thought, my Father, how am I going to do this? And it just became such a burden on me. And we were so depressed because how do we do this, Father? But you know what? Father had to get me to the place of saying, I tell you've got to take me at my word. If I told you that I'm calling you here and I'm going to make a way for you, you've got to believe me. By faith. Now there was no faith where I was concerned because I wanted to see a physical manifestation of something. But there was no physical manifestation. All I could see was a desert and the promise that He's given, just like those Israelites. And I was facing a bunch of giants that were in my way. And I had to learn to worship Him in the midst of my desert. And one night I got up for 2 days in a row and I just danced and danced and danced. And the Father said, you worship me. As you worship me, I will part the Red Sea for you. You are not going to do this of yourself, but I am the one who's going to do it for you. You cannot do this in your strength. And that's what you need to understand. The Father will bring you to the end of yourself. Because self cannot be on the throne. Either He parts the Red Sea. All Moses needed to do was stretch out the staff and the Red Sea parted. But guess what? The Joshua generation was a different generation. The Joshua generation was a generation that had to put their feet in the water. They didn't wait for the river to part. They had to put their feet at a time of flooding when it was not appropriate, when it was not a good time. They had to put their feet in that river for the river to part. And so this is what the Father is going to require of us. And this is what you're going to have to understand this weekend, that it's only by faith that we are called to walk. We need to understand that the Father is calling us into a higher place. And the place that He's calling us into now is not what you can see, but it's what you will be able to believe within your heart. If He's spoken a word, He is going to do it. Not by might, not by power, but by His Ruach. So we now, since we've gone back now, it's a new season. I'm in a different place. Father started telling me, imagine when you've got prophets even phoning you. Someone you haven't even spoken to for 4 years phones you. I was at Dolla's place and this prophet phones me out of nowhere. I haven't spoken to him for 4 years. And he says, Natalia, the Father is saying He's bringing you to a quiet place. You need to learn to sit still. I thought, for me to sit still is a problem. But He's telling you, you need to sit still. Come and be quiet before Him. He needs to speak to you. And you know what it's like when you got everywhere you turn the same words being given to you? Then you better start listening. So the Father took me now, when He took us now to Israel, these last 2.5 months was really to sit at His feet. And I want to explain to you why. But it starts with understanding the Hebrew language. Why the wilderness? Why is He going to get you to come and sit still in the wilderness? Because you see, the wilderness, if we take the word, we're going to start now for me to be able to, if I can just find it in my notes here. Okay. So once we started, we're now doing Hebrew lessons on a Monday for 4 hours. And just about every day we've got to do some Hebrew homework, which we haven't done since we've really been here. But even though we're here, my Hebrew classes will continue on a Monday for 4 hours because we Skype. So we have to continue with the Hebrew. So the Father is very determined that we have to learn this Hebrew language. We cannot live in the land and try to communicate with the people and not know the language. And there's nothing that I desire more that Abba give me the wisdom and the knowledge that I need to be able to teach you His word from His Hebrew language. There's nothing richer than that, so that we can get to the core of the origin of the truth of His word. Because what I'm about to share with you now is going to be for you to understand the richness of His word. So we are going to look at wilderness. What does the wilderness mean? What is the wilderness? So when we look at the wilderness, what is the word wilderness in the Hebrew language? The word wilderness in Hebrew means midbar. Midbar. Now, we have a book in our Bible, for those of you that maybe have the scriptures or you've got a complete Jewish Bible, we've got our books written in Hebrew, and you will have Bamidbar. Bamidbar means in the wilderness, because Ba is in. Wilderness is Midbar. So it's in the wilderness. That's our book of Numbers. Why they called it Numbers, I don't understand, because it's wilderness. It's Midbar. Midbar means wilderness. Now, in the Hebrew language, when we speak in Hebrew, it's the word Madaber. Madaber. That's the word in Hebrew when we speak. So, Madaber is what we speak. But the root word of Midbar and Madaber is Dabar. And that is the root word which means word. So in the Hebrew language, Dabar means word. So we have another book in our Bible called Devarim. Do we not? Devarim. What is Devarim? It's the book of words. So do you see, the Father had a plan why, when He gave us the 5 books of the Bible, the Torah, and specifically when He brings them into the wilderness, what is it that He's doing? Because He brings you into the wilderness, Midbar, to speak, which is Medaber. Speak what? His words, which is Dabar. So do you see why it's so important that we come into the wilderness? Because the wilderness is the place where you are going to hear Him speak His words. Now, we look and see when Abba took us out of Egypt, that's the book of Exodus. So He took us out of Egypt, book of Exodus. He gives us His instructions, that's Leviticus, because that's His words. And He brings us, He tests us in the wilderness, that's Midbar. That is where He's speaking and He's testing to see that we would be obedient to what He spoke to us. So He brings us into the wilderness. He brings us into Exodus, out of Egypt, into what? He gives us Leviticus, which is Leviticus is His instructions. And then we are being tested in the wilderness, and what is remaining? Deuteronomy, Devarim. Now Devarim is when He speaks His words to see that we do what we needed to do in Midbar, in the wilderness. Are you understanding? Is this a little bit too much for a Friday evening? Okay. So now I want to give you the whole reason why this was such a revelation for me, because you know what? I didn't understand why I could see Father in the wilderness. I couldn't understand why Father was so beautiful to me in the wilderness. I didn't understand why the wilderness could be so beautiful until I was reading the book of Kings. And I want you to go to 1 Kings 8 verse 6. And I will read to you. I got a revelation there. And in 1 Kings 8, verse 6, it says, and the priests in the ark, and the priests brought the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah to its place, and into the speaking place of the house, to the most high, to the most set apart place under the wings of the cherubim. Look at that. He brings the ark of the covenant into what? Into the speaking place, which is what? Medaber, which is the speaking place. It's where he speaks. So that speaking place is called an oracle. And that word is Debir, D-E-B-I-R, which is the concordance number H1687, which comes from the root word of Dabar, which means what? To speak words. It's his words. Do you understand? So do you see? He brings you... This one.
No.
This one. Oh, okay. Elsie's pointing something at me. There. Oh, we got a thing. Okay. Okay. He brings us into the wilderness, which is Midbar, so that he can speak, which is Medaber. The book of his words, he wants to speak his word. The book of the words is Dabarim. And he wants to talk his word, which is Dabar. And the Holy of Holies is the speaking place, which is Debir. So imagine, the wilderness is his Holy of Holies. Can you imagine that? When I understood that, it blew my mind. As I said, Father, where did you meet with Moshe? Where did he meet with Moses face to face? In the wilderness. So he revealed himself to Moses in the wilderness, face to face. And so that is why it is so important for us to understand that if we look and see the whole thing of what he's doing, is he says he wants to be able to bring us into that wilderness, which is, he took us out of Egypt, Exodus, bringing us into Numbers, which is Midbar, and then he's going to speak his words to us. He's going to speak what? His words. So that we can finally come to the Holy of Holies, which is where he ordained for us to be. And this is what we're going to cover this weekend for you to understand. There's an outer court, there's a holy place, and there's a Holy of Holies. And the Father wants to bring us to that Holy of Holies, where we can dwell with him in the cool of the day, to come back to the place of where we have fallen from. But we need to first understand that it is a process. So he brought them in to the wilderness in order to test their hearts. And let me tell you, I can only talk from experience. The wilderness will magnify every wicked thing that is in your heart. It will be exposed. Because you see, in the wilderness, you cannot hide. Yeah, we can always go hide behind a tree, behind a bush. In the wilderness, you are exposed. There's nothing. You will stand before him naked. You cannot hide behind anything. Your sin will be exposed. Your heart will be exposed. Your motives will be exposed. Everything about you will be exposed, because the Father needs to bring you to that place where he wants to talk. Elsie, can you get me that picture? The picture with the mountains and the... So when he started to speak to me about coming away and sitting still. Now, if there's something that I have understood just by living there, we are very privileged, even though, when people before used to say to me, oh, you're so blessed to live in Israel, I used to look at them and say, really? because I didn't see myself as blessed, because I didn't experience that blessing. I didn't experience the blessing of what it really meant to live in the land of Israel, because I was fighting so many giants, and the biggest giants, I'll have you know, were within myself. My mind, my thoughts, my emotions, what I was going through, because those are the biggest giants. Let me tell you something, the biggest giants that you fight are not physical giants out there. It's the ones that is within you. You know what, it's easy when you first get saved. You know, you've got to lay down this thing or lay down that thing, you've got to lay down a couple of friends or whatever. It's fine. But you know, when you start having to lay down your thought pattern, that's not so simple. Casting down every vain imagination that exalts itself above the word of Yahuwah. Cast down that thought that tell you where you get that thought from. Oh, Abba, have mercy. Because those thoughts were raging wild, speaking in my mind. Then it's the emotions that goes with it. And these are the deeper things that the Father wants to do. Because it's that flesh that is within you that needs to die. And this is what we need to understand. What does it mean to lay down the flesh? So when the Father was calling me to be able to come and be still, I didn't quite understand this be still. What do you mean be still? And you know, being in the wilderness, if there's one thing about the desert that I love the most out of everything, is being on a bus when we ride from Arad to Beersheba, and you see the shepherds in the field with the sheep. Now, you know what? People have this idea of Psalm 23. And they have this idea that Psalm 23 is, you know, these sheep in this lush bush with so much grass and greenery and all this beautiful river, and, you know, just picture something like this, you know, that's beauty with all this green grass and these sheep eating from this. You're right. Rocks. I said, Father, what the heck do these sheep eat? Because I don't see any food. But you know what? The shepherd has to lead those sheep. You know, in the middle of summer, I mean, summer's quite long. I mean, summer starts, it starts to get hot there from around about March. It already starts, in March it really starts to warm up, where you start getting things that already start to, you know, go dry. And from about April, you're already starting to not see so much greenery. And then by the time you get to May, June, July, August, September, October, November, it's just total, like our winter. Everything is just dry. It's very dry. And so, what are those sheep going to eat? But you know, Father is so faithful that in the desert, He brings that cloud. You know the same cloud that was over the Israelites by day? And that cloud brings a dew. And this dew falls on the ground, and it gives a little bit of water, where a little bit of grass starts to sprout out from that rocks. Now imagine the shepherd has to know that wilderness so well to be able to know where he needs to lead his sheep so that they can go and eat from those little pieces of mouthfuls of little bit of grass here and there. And that is so totally different to what we understand a lush green field and a lush green grass of where the sheep are busy feeding. At the moment, yes, the desert is quite green at the moment with a lot of grass, so the sheep are really enjoying it. But then I turned around and I said, Father, where's the water? Because there's no real water there. But the shepherd also knows where to find little streams. And the little streams that run, he blocks the little stream and makes it a pool so that the sheep can come and drink from this little pool of water. Because sheep don't really like to drink from running water. They like to drink from more still water. So when the Father started to speak to me about coming away, sitting with Him in the wilderness and really meditating on Him and focusing on Him and His Word, this is the picture that He was explaining to me about what does it mean to come and be still. You see, when you come and be still, what does He do in the wilderness? He speaks His words. So, if we do not come away and sit still, we are not going to be able to get what's got to be given us. Because what he said to me was this. See this picture? Do you see those waters? Is there anything running there? It's dead, still water. When the waters are still, what is above will be seen below. So do you see the perfect reflection? You see the mountain reflecting perfectly. You see the trees reflecting perfectly, as if the bottom part was a photo taken of the top part. Do you see how perfect it is? There's nothing distorted there at all. Nothing. And the Father said, unless you come and sit still, you cannot receive my pattern. That is what is above needs to come below. What is in the heavens, what I have ordained for your life, what I want to speak over your life, can only be given when you come and sit still. Because if you're on the run, if I were to put a river there, would that picture be perfect? No, it would be distorted. It would be totally distorted. So when we are running from pillar to post, and we're busy here and we're busy there, and busy with everything, and running to this place and that place, and we're so busy. Father, I'll pray in the car. Father, you know what? I'll give you 10 minutes here. Father, and then you understand why he's not speaking to you, why he's not revealing what he should to you. Because why? Have you come to sit still? Because if you do not sit still, you cannot receive what is above. And he wants to reveal his purposes and his plans to you, to your life. But you will not be able to receive it unless you sit still. Because as above, so below. What he has already ordained before the foundations of the earth, there is a scroll that has been written with your name. Each and every one of you have a scroll of what you're supposed to be doing on this earth in this time. And let me tell you something. The hour is now where he wants to open your scroll, and he wants to talk to you about what is written in your scroll. But if you do not come into the wilderness and sit still and be able to allow him to lovingly embrace you, to lovingly correct you, to lovingly encourage you, to lovingly lift you up. But in that loving place is a father that rebukes. What child would have a parent, if children would not have a parent that would correct them, what would they be today? Rebellious children. So most people do not want to come and sit with the Father because they're too scared of what he will say. And we will have a repeat of what happened in the very wilderness with Moses when he prepared the people to come and enter the presence of the Father on Mount Sinai. And Father spoke. What did they say? It's too loud, Moses. It's too loud. You talk to us. We'll listen to you. And that is the story of what's still going on today in the land of Israel. The rabbis are the ones that talk, and the people are the ones that follow. They don't listen to the Father's voice. They cannot hear the Father's voice. They listen and follow their rabbi. Where is the Rabbi Yehoshua HaMashiach? Where is he? And that is why there is such a mighty work to be done in the land of Israel. Because you will understand this weekend about two houses. The two houses. And how the two houses need to become one house. But that one house cannot be established unless we take our place. So we need to be a people that can walk in spirit and in truth. And that is what he's looking for. A remnant of people that are going to make a difference. A remnant of people that are going to have to raise up. But they're not going to be able to raise up unless they're going to have to come and sit still. Because there's been a lot of running around. We are seeking the Father in so many different things. And that's what he said to me. Natalia, I'm not there. So if we look and see, what did he say? If we look and see, in Isaiah chapter 46 verse 10, he says, be still and know that I am Yah. I am exalted among the nations. I am exalted in the earth. And then in 1 Kings 19:11-13, talks about Elijah. Remember when Elijah was running away and he went into the wilderness, and then there was the fire, and then there was the storm, and the Father said, I wasn't in that fire, I wasn't in that storm. Where was the Father? In the still, small voice. Are we allowing him to speak in his still, small voice? Because it's in this wilderness that he's going to speak. He's going to mother bear. He's going to speak what? His words. Not what you want to hear, what he wants to teach, because Devarim is all about his words, for him to be able to teach us his words so that we may be able to put them into practice, that we may be able to start walking them out, that we will understand his instructions, that we will understand what is on his heart. You see, because that's the problem. We want to hear what's tickling our ears. And that's what the church is full of. And just last week, Wednesday, now I'll give you a little testimony. Here I have been preaching with these Ethiopian people. I've been preaching to these Ethiopian people for 12 years. I've been walking with this little Tasper man for 12 years, ministering into his life and preaching at his churches and everything. And I try and tell them about the truth. I try to tell them about what it means to come back to ways of Torah. I try to tell them about the name of Yeshua. I try to tell them about these things, but I tell you, no being able to get through to them. Now, for the first time, on Wednesday I went to minister there. For the first time, Tasper says to me, and I said to him, you know what? You need to understand here, I am here to speak straight. Understand, he's busy giving me a message that's steak. How do I deliver a message to people that are still on milk? Very difficult. I thought, Father, I'm preparing for a conference that is steak being given to me from heaven. And now you want me to be able to preach to a church that's still on milk. How do we do it? But Father gave me the grace of how to be able to bring a few things. And I said to them straight, look, you know what? I am not here to pussyfoot around anybody. I am here to be able to do the work that needs to be done because there's no more time. I'm here to speak truth. I'm going to give you things that if you don't, it's going to rattle your cage, but I don't care. Because I cannot speak another word except truth. He wants truth in the innermost parts. I will speak truth. Well, let me tell you. Tasper afterwards said, Natalia, thank you. The next day he phoned me and said, thank you. The people they said, sure, it was hard. But you know what? That was truth. And we need truth. And you know why? Because this is what he said to me. We've had prophet upon prophet and evangelist and teacher and pastor coming to preach in this church and there's no change. And the people stay the same. And it's all about how they're going to be blessed. And it's all about how the Father's going to bless them. And it's all about messages that just tickle their ears. And you know what he said to me? I'm tired, Natalia. I'm tired. I want the truth. And now for the first time, he's willing to hear the truth. And if he was from Ethiopia, there was a pastor there from Malawi, and there was a pastor there from Somalia. And look at what the Father did. Bringing 3 pastors from 3 different countries of Africa that are going to start to receive the truth. Because they themselves are saying, we're tired. Messages are not changing the people. And the people just carry on, and there's no change. And he said, Natalia, only the truth is going to set us free. There you go. The truth is going to set people free. So, I am going to stop here tonight. And then, yes. And I want to close off with a song that I just want us to sit quiet. And it's a song of Sarah Jubilee and Lisa White. Just a proclamation song about coming into the wilderness. And this is really the song that the Father gave Elsie and I, calling us into the wilderness. And so tomorrow we will continue. I know we're all tired. I'm exhausted myself, just trying to put all this together. But we've got a lot to cover. And I just pray by His grace that He's going to give us the grace to cover everything that He wants to give us. And so may you have a blessed evening. May you all sleep well. Let me just close off in prayer. Abba, my Father, I just want to thank